two, a 1 2, a 1
Yeah. What the fuck? Kaboom, boom, look who stepped in the room. Black suits and Timberland boots with Pumas on my feet to complete my technique. So let the fresh speak like I ain't go for tic-tac and guess the wrist rap. So don't get your chick smacked. I suggest you to get back.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Real Talk. My name is Lawrence Chavis.
I'm Keon Hill. No, I'm Shane Kwillz, and we got two special guests today.
Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves.
How you doing? I'm Bernard, be cool, just here in the building.
How you doing, AKA AK Dre? What's going on?
This is not an R&B video.
Don't tell me what this isn't. I'll tell you what this is.
This is Andre.
So today we're going to be speaking about a couple of really intense topics, so we just hope you guys enjoy. Leave any feedback you have under in the comments section, and we'll make sure to reply to you guys in the next video.
And we're talking about today all this bullshit that's going on in fucking Virginia right now with all this damn protesting with the KKK and all this extra stuff. And we're going to...
Good. So the first question I'm going to ask is, gentlemen, which do you think is more effective as a community to help slow down racism, protesting or boycotting? Because they're two totally different things. So what do you think?
Well, I'll just take it with the boycotting, man. I think boycotting is important. I feel like when you stop the money flow, man, everything's about economics, man. When you're talking about money and you mess with people's money, that's when people get involved. People start, looking at what people's talking about. So when you start messing with the money, that's when things start aligning.
Happening, right?
Things start happening.
Money does make the world go round, but, what do you think?
No, I mean, I could definitely agree with that. Boycotting definitely does hurt. Problem is, we're not unified enough to have an effective boycott. So we could boycott all we want, but until we unify, we're not going to get nowhere.
Well, that brings us to another question: is organization. Black people need to be more organized.
Especially Black Lives Matter. Definitely has to be a more organized organization because it's all over the place.
See, I have a different stake in that. I don't feel like we need to be more organized. I feel like we need to be more proactive. Because I feel like I see a lot of these Black Lives Matter protests, or I see a lot of these protests in general about the wrongs, and you see the other races that see that this is fucked up. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the only people you're seeing less and less of at these marches or at these protests or not boycotting is our own people.
Well, at the end of the day, this whole Virginia thing, let's talk about the current thing. This whole Virginia thing caught us by surprise. They apparently had a permit. They did it in the most predominantly white part of Virginia. They didn't do it in like Virginia Beach, or they didn't do it in like a most predominant black place where
racism like this has always existed. It's just social media is so big now that it can't be hidden anymore.
Well, I mean, take a look at what they're protesting for. They're protesting because they have a statue of Robert E. Lee
that they didn't want
a Confederate general of the South during the
slave
Civil
owner.
War. That was an advocate, obviously, for slaves. He was the general for the South.
Yeah.
And they want to pull this statue down, and all of a sudden, all these people that's, white nationalists, KKK, all these people start popping up.
That's what I'm saying. Like, first of all,
they don't want it to happen, but they
statue.
holding on to a piece of history that is obviously, offending other people, offending the whole, offending the nation.
The crazy part about this is this wasn't an event that was black versus white. This was whites versus white supremacists. This wasn't black versus white.
Exactly.
It's like white versus white. It was. That's why you don't see.
So you're saying a white person started this protest to get that statue down?
It was white. It's white people versus white nationalists because they wanted to take the white nationalists didn't want the statue to be taken down. So that was the whole thing. So it's pretty much they said no, don't take the statue down. Other white people are like, what the hell is the issue?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's switched a little bit as in terms of black versus whites, and now it's kind of blacks versus ignorance. You get what I'm saying? Because like there are people out there of other colors that see this, and there are other people that speak about this and they know it's wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's the most important thing, I guess, about the whole race thing as far as whites and blacks is that it's more of a matter of acknowledgement and who's acknowledging the issue. So if you have white people who are advocating for these rights of black people and acknowledging their struggles, their hardships, and everything that the system itself is made to oppress these people, then I think that's the first step, if anything, towards
Absolutely.
Most
you know,
definitely.
answering this race issue.
I absolutely agree.
Most definitely.
So my next question is, how do you feel about famous people speaking out on issues this serious?
Well, my opinion is, you know, my first one is going to go back to, you know, they don't want to lose money. And my second one is they feel that they're not on that social standards anymore where they don't have to fight. If I'm this race and I'm that race, they don't give a fuck because I'm famous. I can do whatever I want. People still gonna follow me and still gonna love me regardless. It doesn't matter which race or any, you know, what creed they come from. I'm famous. I do what I want and people still gonna follow me and I'm still gonna get paid.
Well, it's not even just that by itself. That's a part of it, but it's also
I didn't say all of it.
Listen, I hear you.
I mean, let's take for example, look at the situation with Colin Kaepernick.
Oh man, I was definitely gonna
that's
talk
the
about
last thing
that
you gotta
shit.
talk
I
about
am
when you
Definitely
not-
gonna
Shout out to him first of all. Shout out to him.
Shout out to
Shout out
Colin
to
Shout out to
Kaepernick.
Colin
Shout out to Kaepernick.
We salute you.
Exactly.
I'm
At the
not
end
watching
of the day-
football till you get a contract.
At the end of the day, if you
Use a
talk
liar.
about celebrities,
No, for real.
standing up for what's right, as far as you know, just speaking out. I mean, look at what everybody's mad at him for expressing his First Amendment right.
In a non-violent
you know,
fashion.
in a
non-violent fashion.
You know, it's his First Amendment right to protest against whatever he feels is his opinion, and you know, or whatever his opinion is, he feels the right to protest it. He could do it in any fashion as long as it's not violent.
You would say that, but the problem is he's part of an organization. It's the same thing with the NBA. Once you belong to a part of an organization, you no longer have your own right to speak about what you feel like speaking about. You have a right to speak about what's going to make the organization look good and not lose money as a whole.
But you can't really do that if the predominantly race in your fucking organization is black. Like we make the NBA.
No,
we,
you- no,
like,
we
not-
actually
no,
don't.
wait. I'm
We
sorry.
We make the field.
We make
We
the
make
players.
the field, yeah, the
make
field,
players. But
yeah.
when it comes to the owners, these owners are these older white gentlemen that chances are have ties to these racial issues or have
The old
feelings
Clippers
about
owner.
themselves.
The old Clippers owner.
owner.
The old Clippers owner.
I mean, that's a perfect example. I mean, come
I
on.
mean,
Yeah.
when like in terms of Colin Kaepernick, I just feel like, what he's doing, like I said, we all respected, because he didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? He didn't have to do that, but he stepped out because he saw that it was necessary. So my whole
Look
issue
how they
is
blackballed them.
exactly.
Look
My
how
whole
they
issue is
blackballed them.
they
This
think
is
they paid
the
him.
reason why people don't step out, because at the end of the day, it's not only about money. At the end of the day, it's about influence, and influence is what controls the industry.
Absolutely.
If they don't want him to speak out because it changes the narrative, they don't want him to speak. He's not gonna go to any teams. He's not going to be hired again, no
Facts.
contracts. It's wrong.
And
man.
even
And
if
it's
he
crazy
speaks-
because we, again, like you said, we all have to stick together as a race. If we stop watching football as a whole because he doesn't have a contract or anything like that, we're gonna make a statement.
Not gonna
At this
happen.
point,
Not gonna happen.
But at this point, it's not
But
even the
that's
fact that he
boycott.
doesn't have
Yeah,
a
that's
it's
boycott. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
fucking
once
with your
again,
money.
not gonna happen.
I'm
Look,
But
fucking
it's
with your
not,
money.
but it's not even that he doesn't have a contract that I see issue with. Because if he was a bad player, then that could be, you know what I mean, a viable reason he's a black player.
Right.
My problem is, you mean to tell me he wasn't a bad player before he started taking a knee?
Well,
You get what I'm saying?
statistically,
Well,
he was
a bad
actually a
player.
lot better than the
Exactly.
other players.
Right.
There's
that
a
was
lot-
starting off as
there's a lot of
QB
players
for
out
their
there that's
teams.
still there that
Or
are-
even second string.
Exactly.
once
So I'm
again-
like, there was no issue except the fact that he was taking a knee. And I've asked a lot of military personnel because they said he offended the flag and offended the military.
Yes.
And
I've
I
heard-
asked
I've
a lot
heard
of
that.
friends in the
I've heard that.
military,
I've heard
and
that.
they said that the military fights for your right to be able to do protests like that.
This is the whole reason why they out there, to fight for our rights and to defend
Well,
our
now the
freedoms.
thing is that-
and then one of our freedoms is to be able to voice your opinions and to be able to have the First Amendment right.
Yeah.
But that's a whole
Freedom
different
of
thing
speech.
because you got to remember
What's
some
the-
of the you got to remember some of the people that actually go into the military. These are people that are trained to be nationals, straight nationals. Everything is nation, nation, nation because that's the only way you can get somebody to go and die without batting an eye about it. So there are some people that feel I am fighting for the rights of people, and then there are some people that feel I am fighting for the rights of America, which is a completely different statement. The right of America
yeah,
is to sit.
Make America great.
That's
Make
exactly.
America great.
So it's two completely different statements.
Oh,
Please,
make America
Let's talk about his
great.
response to the whole situation.
Both sides are to blame?
Let's not.
What?
Both sides are to blame.
Let's not.
And I mean, at the end of the day, let's talk about how long his response to the issue took. I mean, it literally took days for him to come out and say that this was an issue and that it needed to be addressed.
Because that's how long it took him to actually think of something. You know, first of all, guys, listen. I'm gonna come up with something, and it's gonna be great. I can promise you, people are gonna love it. Colin is gonna love it.
Something
he knows
that makes America great again.
And you know what's the funny thing about it? You know what the funny thing about it is? He said something to the extent of, let's not single them out as nationalists or whatever, as extremists. But I'm like, you're the president, and you got up there and openly said Mexicans, or look at my black friend right there, and then you get what I'm saying? And
that
then you
black
tell us
guy,
not
they love me.
Yeah, exactly. Then you tell us not to single out these people
I wanted to point out, sorry to cut you off, I wanted to point out one thing that...
You ain't sorry.
I am sorry. Sorry, I'm not sorry.
Okay.
I would like to point out one thing that really, like, pissed me off was, you know, the Nazi that ran over that young lady that killed...
the person with the car, yeah.
Oh, 20 years old, man.
Pissed me the fuck off. But pissed me off. But I'm. You know what? I don't want people to look at her mother as a bad person.
If you want to be honest,
Are you
not
surprised,
sorry to
though?
interject, but if you want to be honest, that's a true act of terrorism.
Are you surprised?
That is a true act of
internal
terrorism. Yes,
terrorism.
it is.
That is.
Yes, it is.
If you look at it in any aspect, when somebody commits a violent act in order to get their belief across or their political views across, that automatically is.
But once again, it's all about
terrorism.
It's all about the narrative, though, because I feel like terrorism is a word that America uses in order to push a certain agenda. Whenever anything is done by a certain race, it's terrorism. Whenever something is done by white people, it's not terrorism. It's everything else, but it's
acting out.
It's militia.
Yeah.
It's militia. First of all, that word. See that word used by a bunch of armed people is crazy to me, but they're a militia. They're expressing their rights. They're doing everything else aside from terrorism. Why? Because they are white, and whites are not capable of terrorism.
Exactly.
Or so the narrative of America goes.
And you know what? You know what the whole shit about this whole protest is about? Is because white people are starting to become a minority instead of the majority.
No,
Absolutely.
I don't think that. Okay,
This is what they're afraid of, bro. They're afraid of becoming a minority.
You gotta let me hear me out.
I mean, you got Nemeros.
Okay, you can try, but I got a good point. The problem is that not that they're becoming the minority in a sense, because we were never the minority. We were the majority. We just had the influence of a minority. So meaning it's mostly populated with blacks, Latinos, Asians, Europeans, everything else. You get what I'm saying? So we were not
just labeled
minorities.
we were just labeled as
minorities. But my whole thing is it's gotten to a point where it's not less of the white people, it's just less of them that are gonna tolerate that shit. Because there's more love being passed around in a sense, and more of them are starting, like I said, more of them are starting to fight up. So in a sense of them becoming a minority,
but they're doing it in their neighborhood. They're doing it in their backyard. They're not doing it in our backyard,
I saw a march right through Flatbush for Black Lives Matter.
What?
Half of them was white.
Well, here's the thing.
No, I'm talking about the white people marching like KKK. They're not marching through Flatbush.
I'm not talking about them.
What?
Well, no.
Or Flatbush?
But here's the thing: if they march through Flatbush, what are you gonna do? If 500 KKK members came from Virginia and came from North Carolina right now and marched through Flatbush, what are you gonna do besides sit there and sit your ass in the couch and go, damn, I wish I could do something about that? You're not fucking with that. You're not doing anything about it.
Nah, you bugging, bro. On Flatbush, you know. Bro, wait, tell me, how many times you drop me off at home?
First of all,
you know them crip dudes is outside.
No, Flatbush has become so gentrified right now that you're really thinking of Flatbush 15, 20 years ago. Maybe it'd have been a different story, but it's not. You've got Starbucks on every single corner. I mean, areas like Crown Heights, not yet, but they're coming. But look, they took over a lot of the areas over there. They built up a lot of condos. That's happening. There's the gentrification. Black people are being pushed out. There's less and less black people in those neighborhoods. So you really think that do you think that black people are gonna come up and fight if something like that happens?
Shit, there might be white people that come up and fight.
There's not, but that's what I'm saying. They will probably fight before we as a people will fight. And honestly, that's a struggle within ourselves.
Okay, so it's a good thing you said that actually, because that leads into the next question, which is how can we better connect our communities to be able to assemble them as a group? Because I remember in the times of like Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, like these people marched together no matter how far they had to walk.
This goes back to being organized.
Yeah, exactly.
Having communities, that's the most important thing, is being organized. And if one thing the system has done has target black organization. If you want to bring up Malcolm, if you want to bring up Martin, if you want to bring up any person who's been a black activist that's been the leader or the maverick for the civil rights movement, they all gone. You understand what I'm saying? The ones that are still here, most of them are in the pocket.
Let's not
with the system, man. They hurting us more than they helping us.
And the thing is, not to mention that whenever blacks, we as a people start to be unified, aside from taking out leaders, because that's the fastest way to take out the group. Chop the head off. You kill everything. Second thing is, then they start pumping things into our neighborhoods. They start pumping drugs into our neighborhoods. They start reducing the resources that we have for education. All of that stuff affects how easily we can be unified. You can't unify somebody that don't know anything. You can't unify a slave that don't know him.
You can't. Issue. I feel like resources. Is major when it comes to a people elevating their position in America. Because when you talk about resources, you got to look at different races. Like the Jews, they have their resources. When they had reparations and they had some kickback coming to them. And we're not talking about welfare, because anybody could get welfare. We're talking about something designated to people, and not affirmative action and none of these other plans that's hurting us more than it's helping us. It's passing our kids up the grades and they're not even having any education that they're retaining.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it's all about getting resources from the government. No people in any country has been able to elevate their position without resources from the government.
Absolutely.
And reparations is something that I know for a matter of fact that the government will not be.
Funny thing you say that. Funny thing you say that is because I tell people this all the time. What a lot of people don't know, because like you said, they don't take the time out to learn these things. They don't pay attention to these things. When slavery was abolished, slave owners got $300 per slave because it was seen as a loss of property. So it wasn't a reparation to us for being enslaved. It was a reparation to the slave owners, you get what I'm saying, for losing property. Like the same way you would get payback for insurance if you lost your house. When slavery was abolished, that's what they got. That's why a lot of these people have generational homes, or that's why these people have, you know what I mean, all these properties or businesses that was passed down, and we don't. Because like I said, we were the property and they were given reparations, but not us. That's why you hear people make that statement, where's our 40 acres and a mule?
Yeah, 40
you know
acres
what I mean?
and a
Where's
mule.
our 40 acres and a mule?
Well, the problem
but
is
it's the truth.
we ain't spending the money correctly anyway. The money that we do have was, honestly, everybody here, no bullshit, has at least one pair of Jordans.
False.
At least one.
False.
You have no Jordans.
I have no Jordans.
You have no Jordans. Never owned a single pair.
Never owned a single pair.
You have friends that own pairs?
Yes. But
I have to salute you, man, because I have to salute you because it's difficult to find somebody that doesn't own it. Honestly, it's a comfortable sneaker. I'll tell you that. But it's not doing anything.
About it until later.
I'll tell you why it's an issue. You're absolutely right. It's because they spend the money on other things. But I feel like it's because, like the phrase "each one teach one." You get what I'm saying? So I feel like people like us, we would not be afraid to speak to our friends if we saw something wrong, or just to educate them in terms of that. But not everybody is like that. You get what I'm saying? So to win a war, it requires sacrifice. Call it what it is. To win a war, it requires sacrifice.
Sacrifice is one thing. That's the word. That's huge.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry, Lawrence, that you spoke about that, because sacrifice is huge. Right now, one of the main reasons why our movement hasn't been able to have the growth that it's had is not only because of organization, but because of sacrifice. Sacrifice is a huge thing. Before you had those same people who were getting chased by those dogs, getting hit by those holes, they were making the sacrifice, and at the end of the day, when those cameras cut off and all the pictures that we could see of those civil rights movements that they had back then, those same people went to jail afterwards, and they did time. And it's not like it's stuff that go unspoken. You know, these are unspoken heroes that go on and do these things, these real brave acts of standing up and fighting against the system.
I feel like we live in a world where, like, we as millennials, this doesn't account. This is not about us. It's about the generation that came before us. You get what I'm saying? I feel like they're so afraid to teach these kids about black empowerment because we live in such a system where our skin has become a weapon. So everybody's so scared to sacrifice now because it's like, a lot of people think, what's the point? But for me, it's like the point is to pass on that information. As humans, we're like cells. We're going to die off at some point. So it's our job to pass the information to the next group so that they can carry it on. And it's a process. So as African-American men, that's what we have to do. I'm not saying pass on the hate. I'm not saying, you know what I mean, pass on all these issues. But you have to pass on that knowledge, because you can only fight against it if you know about it. And half of these kids, like you said, they spend the money on the wrong things. They go out and buy all this stupidness. It's because they don't know any better. You get what I'm saying? Nobody's there to actually push them.
Well, it's not even just that, though.
A great question would be, what do you think if you're saying these celebrities
Yeah.
should be helping more, what would you think are some great ways that they could give back or kind of help change the narrative or change the situation for the direction of where we're going as a people?
Okay, so simply put, Colin Kaepernick has this movement called the Know Your Rights movement,
Yes.
which is a camp for minority youth, so called, for black people who it teaches you about how to speak to cops when cops approach you, the rights that you have when you're speaking to cops, because not a lot of people know that, and that's why some of these things get lost in translation because you don't know what they can and can't do, so that's why they get away with this. So I just feel like as celebrities, you have
programs.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I feel like as celebrities, you have the influence to make these things happen. You get what I'm saying? You have the resources to make these things happen. Even if you didn't want to get shunned by Hollywood. Say you're an A-list actor and you didn't want to get shunned by Hollywood. You don't have to attach your name to it. You can still make it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can still make it, of
I'm
course.
sure you have friends or you have community leaders that are willing to head these programs. Fund it.
Yeah, but that
Well,
information comes out somewhere. The thing is, there's
Yeah.
nothing that you could put your money into as a celebrity
And your
that
name will
somebody's
still
not
not
going to
be
dig out
attached
and
to
not
it.
find that it was you that did it. Especially if there are people that are looking to slander you. Everybody's going to find something. If you slept with your godsister's god cousin 2 days ago, somebody knows about it. If you were an A-list celebrity.
But then it also goes back to sacrifice. When you go back to look, all celebrities have came from poverty, and they were like, "Yo, I sacrificed enough. I feel like I shouldn't have to
Incorrect.
sacrifice this
Not
more."
all.
Yeah,
Not all.
nah.
Nah, not
So
all.
no, I'm just saying, like some people do feel like that. Like I don't feel like I should do this. Like I'll give my money and that's it. Like how even when our perfect example when Dave Chappelle did his recent comedy stand-up, he was supposed to go to Flint, right? And Chris Rock called him. He's like, "Yo, I got an extra ticket to the Grammys." He was like, "Oh, I'm going to the Grammys." He said, "I'm not going to Flint. I didn't do that to y'all. So why the hell should I go?" Again,
You see?
well,
there's not enough sacrifice.
It's not that too. I think
no,
it's money.
what
I
is
think
it?
it's money.
No, yeah,
It's
you're
money.
absolutely right.
I think
You're
it's money
absolutely
as well because once you obtain a lot of things that people at black people tend to forget, especially black people that get money, is that no matter how much money you have, you're still black.
Exactly.
Like that,
You're
but
still-
they
still
tend
OJ.
they tend to
Still,
forget that.
nigga.
What was the quote by
Rich
Harriet
nigga,
Tubman? She
wrong.
said what she
Wrong
said. She said,
nigga,
"I freed
real.
1,000
So,
slaves,
still,
and I
nigga.
would have freed 1,000 more if they only knew that they were slaves." I believe that was the quote. But it's something like that. Once you've obtained a certain level, they feel, "Oh well, now I am exempt from all of these other issues.
Exactly.
So why should I now have to hurt myself or dig back into that because it no longer affects me?"
True.
Because I'm not on that same social standard.
We're about to wrap it up, but we do definitely want to hear everybody's last statements.
Yeah.
So we can start with Keon and work our way through.
All right, cool. My thing is, all I'm saying is, look, black people, we have to stay unified. We definitely have to understand sacrifice and just become better people as a whole. Because we can't evolve from what we was living in a peaceful time before fucking Trump came along. Everything was good, but he gave into white people's freaking emotions and their inner demons. And that's where all this came from. So, as I'm saying right now, just let's all stick together. Why we can't all just get along? We all bleed the same fucking thing. We all die. We all go to the same fucking place. It doesn't matter. Bernard?
Well, to add to that, I just feel like we need to organize, like we spoke earlier about, just try to, come together more as a people. I mean, it's not just about blacks fighting. This is a system. This is systemic, and it's more about us fighting the system as a whole, as a collective whole, and trying to overcome these obstacles. Because at the end of the day, when you just see white people out there fighting for the rights of black people, or you just see black people fighting out there for the rights of black people, no matter what, it just doesn't feel right. I mean, if it is all lives matter, why aren't they out there for these people talking about Black Lives Matter? You understand what I'm saying?
Yep,
It should
absolutely.
be Indian, it should be Asian, Asian, Indian, it should be people of all races, whether it's Native Americans,
All
whatever.
creeds, everything,
all creeds,
everything.
every religion, every race, just out there just trying to come together as a whole to overcome this obstacle that is racism in America.
Facts.
Boom.
Absolutely. Honestly, I believe that a lot of this starts with the kids, man. It starts with the kids. You got to talk to your kids. You got to educate your kids. You got to teach your kids to love themselves. You got to teach your kids to love other kids.
Educate them.
I'm telling you, because a lot of this division that we have starts from there. I grew up dark skinned. Y'all can see I am dark skinned. When you grow up, you're called all kinds of things as a dark skinned boy. Tar baby, midnight, somebody turn off the lights. Oh shit, where did Andre go? Like that shit is funny when you're young, but you don't realize how much you are degrading yourself, you're degrading the other person, and you're causing that separation that we should be together. We shouldn't be, you shouldn't be hurting each other like that. And it's the same kind of, we shouldn't be infighting. And that starts from there, and kids don't realize. And even some adults don't realize, because some adults are just big kids. But honestly, it starts from there. You got to talk to your kids, invest in their education, help them become better versions of themselves. That's it. Every day, just little by little. And I promise you, if you raise a new generation full of kids that were better than themselves and better than the last generation, it'll take a while, but we'll get there.
Absolutely. To me, like I'm not gonna say what you said, because you said it beautifully. Like I applaud you for that. That statement was perfect. I don't need to add nothing on to that. So from my perspective, it's to tell African Americans or us as a people that if you want to get it done, show them we could do it without them. You get what I'm saying? So I respect every person that is not black that has been out there at these protests, but you should not be the heads of these protests. You get what I'm saying? It should be us. If you feel like there's a problem, if you feel like XYZ name brand store is opposing black people, go out there, make your own and support your own and show them that you don't need them.
And boycott the other ones.
You get what I'm saying?
Doctor can't care more than the sick care.
That's what you have to do, man. We have to go out there, make our own, and show them that we can do it without them as a people, and show them what true love is, because our fight is not for supremacy, it is for equality. And that's all it's for.
Exactly.
Right.
It, man.
So I am Lawrence Chavis, signing out from another episode of Real Talk.
That's Keon right here, and we out tonight. Thank you to our special guests, Bernard and Andre.
Dropping
we appreciate
wisdom.
y'all for coming through, dropping your wisdom. Wisdom. What the fuck is wisdom?
Yep.
And cut.
Yeah. What the fuck? Kaboom, boom. Look who stepped in the room. Black suits and Timberland boots with Pumas on my feet to complete my technique. So let the fresh speak like I ain't go for tic-tac and guess the wrist rap. So don't get your chick smacked. I suggest you to get back.
They look like your keys to your apartment. We need
Hey, give me
those
them
too.
glasses you want. Actually, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. How about I just have you beat the lawyer?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
We're gonna all introduce ourselves when it first starts, not at the same time, of course. But
Who's gonna start the episode? It's your episode. You started.
I'll start it.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We go.
What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk. I am Lawrence Chavis.
And I'm Keon, motherfucking Kwillz.
And we have our two guests here today. Please introduce yourself, gentlemen.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Be cool.
Be cool.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Andre, aka Dre. Just keep it simple. How you doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, like they gentlemen over here.
First of all, my man said be cool. I'm like, be cool.
Guys, hold it.
Oh,
Hold
all
it.
right. What?